I'm sorry. Duchato.
Duchate,
sorry.
I don't know if that's close enough. I'm Melanie Duchateau. You have my address on file. First, I want to thank you for the expanded comment time, the 3-minute speaker time, and the agenda transparency out in the lobby. These improvements have not gone unnoticed, so thank you. And I also signed up to speak about payroll because your salaries are probably included in that. So the salaries that we in this room are paying, and most of us feel that sometimes you aren't earning because you're not doing an effective job. So first, I want everyone to know that at the last board meeting, it was Prince William County Democrat Committee Chair Tanya James who caused the scene, resulting in security clearing the room.
Sorry, the policy requires you to speak to the agenda item, which is payroll.
I'm speaking about your salary. I'm speaking about payroll because we pay your
I believe that you have veered away from salary.
So just stick to the salary of the folks here in the building, please.
Yes, your salaries are included in the payroll, and I'm speaking to how you are earning your salaries. So it is applicable. We, the parents, are not happy about the arbitrary capacity limits for the board meetings, so we'd like some explanation, speaking of transparency and doing your job.
Once again, ma'am, you are veering, you're not following the policy.
No.
And you're not speaking
Are your
about
salaries not
payroll.
included in payroll?
If you're talking...
Point.
Are your salaries not included under payroll?
You can speak to the topic of payroll and salaries, but you're going beyond that to speak about
I'm talking about the job that the board is doing for whom we pay the salaries. Okay, so we're asking for more transparency with the capacity limitations in the board meetings. So while we've seen some improvements tonight, we'd like someone to explain the reasoning behind the decisions for the capacity restrictions when there's no capacity restrictions out in the atrium. Second, your job, we're talking about salaries here, your job is to provide an excellent education for our kids, which a lot of us feel like is not happening. You're too focused on setting the stage for highly controversial curriculum that's rooted in Marxism called critical theory, which specifically teaches our children to judge others by the color of their
skin. Mr. Chateau, you're violating the rules of
Am I not speaking about the job that you're doing to earn the salaries for what we pay? I'm talking about your salaries, and I'm talking about how we don't feel like you're earning them. That has everything to do with payroll because we pay your salaries.
Understood. Understood. But talking about capacity limits has nothing to do right now with the payroll.
Yes, it does, because we're asking for more transparency and better communication. It is absolutely, if you would let me finish, you would understand how this all has to do with your salaries. So can you please?
Go ahead and wrap up your remarks. Go ahead and wrap up your remarks.
Okay, so it's critical theory teaches our children to judge others not by the color of their skin, that no matter the level of the effort the child puts into their work, an equal outcome is the most important thing. And then if you are of a minority race, you're not capable of succeeding with hard work and determination. You're teaching minorities that it's because of their skin color that they're not able to be successful without lowering standards and disadvantaging other kids. Third, I want to address the recent vaccine and testing requirements for staff because we all know this will eventually be a requirement for our children. I want you to ask yourself, what is the purpose of requiring vaccines for staff or weekly testing for those that decline? We're told that it's to reduce the transmission of the virus, thus protecting. Please finish.
Ms. Dasho, our policy says if you want to speak on non-agenda items, you can sign up for that time slot. Those time slots were taken. The time slots that you were given were for specific agenda items for this evening. You are beyond that with the discussion on vaccines. You are more than welcome to sign up for our next board meeting, and you're more than welcome to send us emails and upload. And they are, and you spoke to that, but the vaccines are not part of that. So thank you. Thank you, ma'am. My next speaker will be Palmer Denny, then Richard Jesse, and then Emmett Fletcher.
Quick question to the school board council. I put on the list that I am going to be speaking about COVID protocols. Is that under agenda items?
You're on the non-agenda item list. You can speak to anything on the agenda or non-agenda, or rather non-agenda.
Thank you. My name is Palmer Denny, and my address is on file. I've come before you tonight to inform you of scientific findings that you may not be aware of. On September 22nd, Dr. Martin Makary, an oncologist at Johns Hopkins University, gave an interview to WTOP. In that interview, he stated multiple facts about COVID, one being the efficacy of masks. Dr. Latif, I do hope you will follow the science here as you claim to. In the WTOP interview, Dr. Makary said that cloth and surgical masks are only about 11% effective at preventing the spread of COVID. 11%. That is far too low to warrant forcing masks on children as young as kindergarten. Further, the mortality rate from COVID in kids is 0.03%. We don't take any extraordinary precautions like these mandates to prevent anything else with a risk level that low. Further, have you considered the negative effects of prolonged mask wearing? From another piece by Dr. Makary, those who have myopia, nearsightedness, can have difficulty seeing because the mask fogs their glasses. Masks can cause severe acne and other skin problems. The discomfort of a mask distracts some children from learning. By increasing airway resistance during exhalation, masks can lead to increased levels of carbon dioxide in the blood. And masks can become vectors for pathogens if they become moist or are used for too long. These downsides alone all outweigh the 11% protection granted by the masks. I would also like to add that in our own county, there have been little to no cases of students returning to school with lasting effects from COVID. COVID is not the threat to children that you say it is. 0.03% pediatric death rate. And finally, if these protocols are truly as effective as you claim they are, why is COVID still running rampant through our schools? I'll remind you that back in March of 2020, when we had 2 weeks to slow the spread, which turned into 2 years, when everyone was on board with staying home and wearing masks and social distancing and only going out when necessary, why were the numbers of cases and deaths the absolute worst of this pandemic? These protocols are ineffective at preventing a virus that is turning into the common cold. And as a student, an employee who must live with this, I strongly urge you to reconsider these ridiculous mandates.
Richard Jesse.